Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome to Kaisers Kastle. You've all been here before. Take a big seat on my large orange couch, able to fit all 91 of you on my page. The funniest thing to me when I look at things is I'm about to break down my military service and be honest and tell you how this stuff rolls. Everybody who knows me knows and have been to Kaisers Kastle. By the way, they're all sitting here right now on my big orange couch. It's very big. And they have popped their cold brews. Some have made hot tea or coffee, or even hot chocolate, since it's still a little cool this date. So here's something you all need to think about that nobody thinks. There's a mystique, something that people don't want to talk about with military policemen. And there are policewomen. I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The reason for that is because we have military police officers that are officers. And they're both male and female, but they happen to be officers. They're not men or women. Men and women are enlisted. You will never see a badge from a military policeman who is, or a woman who is an officer. It won't happen because the rank decides what they mark them as. And by the way, that music was brought on from Axon. Gentleman is a great dude. And thank you for the synth wave. And you all see I have my synth wave pictures. We assist, protect, defend our own. Bad to the bone. Now, with that being said, an officer is sexless. The respect is given to both of them, being officers. This is where police have failed. Remember, back when I was young, there was Angie Davison, I think her name was, who did Policewoman. It was a great program. You guys should look it up and actually listen to it and watch it. There's something that both sexes add to policing, but that's civil policing. When you watch that program, Angie Dickinson, that was her name. The males add something, the females add a deeper breath, just like Lioness. I can give you a prime person who I respect highly and always will. She doesn't like me now because, you know, politically this shit has gotten stupid. But it was Michelle Wilmot, now Michelle DeLasio, had a great book. Probably has pulled my quotes out of her book. I still will respect her. You know, people are stupid now. But the funniest part to me is I'm going to explain to you what the mystique. I'm also going to tell you what a military policeman / woman is. We both have a job. This is something a lot of people don't understand because they don't understand the basic premise of what this is about. Now, first off, I want to break down what a military policeman or woman is. I have to be very correct with you. A military policeman or woman is a frontline person. Now, I spent most of my time in the field, and during the Cold War, there were very few military police women. That's a fact. Just telling you the truth. You go to the field, do your thing. Field military policemen, even line. When I say line, think about your normal cop that rides around your base. If you were military, the field military policeman is not that military policeman. He can do that job. It's something that Fort McClellan gave us all. It truly did. And you know, I started this game when I was 17. Yeah, I was 17 when I first went in. Had to graduate military police school by the time I was 18. And Fort McClellan was an awesome place to train. There was so much to do, so much to learn. Magdalen Hall was our learning area. By the way, this is going to be a longer chat than I normally like to do, but it deserves it. And honestly, I'll probably burn a few cigarettes, pop a couple nice cold pops, and explain what a military policeman, the mystique, the myth, and what other cops think. You know, both military and civilian people also think, right? Because I'm going to be very real. This has to be done. I have not seen this done ever. What I see is that mystique. We have a mystique, just like what I do now. You know, as a contractor, there's a certain mystique. You always see these mystiques, and people believe certain things about it, right? But when I came in, military police, MP, was multi-purpose. Mamas and the papas, you know, we watch our babies. We protected, assisted, and defended our own, right? Kind of interesting, isn't it? What the cross pistols were, always, to me and others, they were a touchstone, okay? I have a picture up where I'm under the new Military Police Memorial Grove that's finished at Fort Lost in the Woods, Leonard Wood, Missouri. I never went through that. I went through Fort McClellan. Now that base only houses two things. Besides the Alabama National Guard, and it was one of the best training areas on the planet, but they decided to bracket base realignment and closing. So I stand under those cross pistols. They were my touchstone and still are. Even when I was a Fed. See, here's something you guys don't understand. It was about we were of the troops for the troops. We were not any better. We weren't any worse. This is what was inculcated and indoctrinated into us. Because I went into the Marine Corps, do you think it changed? I was an MP in both, and the funniest thing is I was even doing something else while I was an MP. Even some of my mentors never knew what I did. I'll guarantee you in the Marine Corps they didn't. I carried an Army ID and a Marine Corps ID the entire time. J-Dog did too. There was very few of us that knew what was going on. And they would always try to undermine us. Say this was bullshit or that was bullshit, right? And that's okay. You know, what are you going to try to do? Are you supposed to justify yourself? Back in that day, oh, it makes me laugh looking back. You have some knowledge they don't have. It just wouldn't have been good, and so we just lived the way we did. So, the funniest thing to me is that we did so much with so little. Now, getting back to the purpose of this. First off, I'll tell you what normal civilian cops think. Military police aren't real cops. And a brother of mine, you've heard him before on one of my podcasts, and I'm not going to mention his name. It just isn't relevant. But we were talking, and he got asked a question, and he was an MP, and he didn't know how to answer it. And I said, dude, when I was a Fed, I got it from civilian, police, and Fed cops. They're like, well, military police aren't real cops. And I would say, okay, two things. From the UCMJ, if you're in the National Guard, which I went into afterwards, 73rd Infantry Brigade, love it. I have it tattooed on my back. And I said to them, okay, if a gun battle's happening, if somebody runs away, can you shoot them? Can you actually put them to death? Can you mete out a punishment? And they'd be like, well, yeah, and I know where they're going with this. And they would always do the same stupid crap. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They have a gun. They're running away from the battle. No, I'm talking about your own people. They'd be like, no, we can't do that. What are you talking about? And I'd be like, a military policeman can under the UCMJ. And that always dropped their jaw. What do you mean you could shoot your own? And I'd say, yeah, you can. Because it's good order and discipline. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're going to have to write a report. You're going to have to justify it. But you can do it. In combat. Okay? Look at what happened in Parkland. That didn't happen, did it? You know? You had a guy not doing his job. It kind of instills a little bit of discipline and honor in people, right? When they know the laws of land warfare, they know the UCMJ, and when I went into the Guard, there's a caveat. Every state has, and I'm from Ohio, the OCMJ, the Ohio Code of Military Justice. Guess what? They all have that caveat for military policemen. From Napoleon on, that is what instilled discipline into the troops, including the chained dogs. That's what they called them because they wore gorgets. And J-Dog knows this too. Into the military police. We were a little different. We were kind of like scouts, but we had a separate mission also. Besides being scouts, we had to enforce the rule of law. Now, you'll hear Air Force people saying they're military policemen. They're not. In Vietnam, they called themselves Air Police, APs. They've called themselves security forces when I was in. Also, LEOs. That's the school I had to go through for the Marine Corps. You know, because we had a bad commandant before the best commandant of the Marine Corps. And we still had to go through Lackland. And several of my mentors came from there. And they would say the same thing. Fort McClellan built military policemen because they stressed, well, you had a week of all the forms. You had to learn them all. Trust me, if you failed, you were going to OCS. And it wasn't Officers Candidate School. You were going to Oklahoma Cook School. They had a special program for the failures. So, and this is back when I was 17, 18, right? So by the time I was 20, about to be 21, I went in the Marine Corps and I was open contract. And open contract, it was funny. They'd pull you into the same building you walk through, you know, where your yellow footprints were. I call them golden footprints because it's where me and my son both walked through. We took a picture one time. We didn't stand on those footprints because you only stand on them one time. We made sure of that. But the thing that gets me is that we went in and all of us open contracts. You know, most of them are getting Amtrak driver, this, that, and the other, and you couldn't open it until the guy got right in front of you. The guy who's deciding where you're going to go. And so you can't open that new contract. And he got up in front of me. And without a hesitation, all these guys are getting Amtrak and engineer. And he says, the Army said you were a military policeman. IW military policeman. And I opened it up and it was 5811. Damn, I went from 95 Bravo to 5811. Shit. That was super cool, right? I'm going to do the same thing. So after school, I get put in a field unit, FSSG, First Force Service Group, okay? Support group. I couldn't believe it. I went to that unit. It was hard. The men were hard. They weren't accepting anything but perfection to them. And we used to do gas mask runs. Imagine that, guys. Running while you're wearing gas mask. And then Juliet area, all the stuff we used to do, all of us did that. And then the Gulf War happened. That was a gut check, right? If you think you're badass, wait till you get the order that you're going to a place you have no idea about. I mean, you'll do a quick check, and back then we didn't have the internet, so you're going to the library to find out what temperature it is. And here's the funniest part. When you go to that library, you're seeing, damn, it's 80 degrees in December and January and February. And you're like, awesome. But you land in 104 degree temperature. And I'm being very low on the temperature. I mean, I think the day we landed, it was like 120 something. And that was August 7th when 1st Marine Division and 1st FSG got there. We got there, I think, a little bit before them. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am. I have no problems with that. But I know we landed on August 7th. And all of a sudden we're doing the chocolate chips. We're styling. I'd done, let me see, I think a rim pack before that. I did a CAX 8, 9, and 10 out in 29 Palms, which is a whole different method. Whole different atmosphere too. And so anyways, we get in there, and then around Christmas, we were having sandstorms, and a brother of mine, we're driving down in our Hummer, and we put on the brights because we have a sandstorm, and we're singing Christmas carols just to try to keep stuff together, you know, have a little fun in the privacy of our Hummer. That was before I got put on a highway patrol. That's a different story. I'll get into that if you guys want to hear it. I don't care. But I'm not going to do it now. So, I remember freezing, and I have a picture on my page where we'd already met people from the DRP Woodnick, Democratic Republic of Poland's firefighting ship Woodnick. The guy gave me a hat. I had because I was a moron, I left my field jacket back there. All this stuff, they gave us field jackets and stuff, but they didn't have the liners. I mean, there's a lot of problems that went on. And it was still chocolate chip, whatever. I mean, it was what it was. But overnight, I remember freezing to death. And I go looking at the thermometer, one night. And it said 80 degrees, just like what what those books said the temperatures would be. And yet I'm freezing. Blue lips, everything. But still, you carried on. That one picture was so funny. I remember when my bro took it of me. We were laughing. It's like I'm wearing a DRP head dress covering my ears, is one of them furry cap kind of things, and I've got my night camos on, plus my vest, everything else that was going on, and you still couldn't get warm, but that was okay. And we were sleeping in tents in Ras Al Jabal, but we still had to do our jobs and be professional. So here's the thing. Cops say, well, military policemen aren't cops. I don't think they're cops, honestly. They can always go home at the end of the night as long as they survive their shift. But they also don't have the responsibility. Here's the problem. A military policeman, if he does his job, has to answer to the provost marshal. And unlike the police, which I was a cop too, man. I mean, it just makes me laugh every time I think about these guys. And we would have talks like this, and they'd be like, wow, man, that's right, you know. Their unions will get involved. And just like anybody, you don't have to say anything the first day of the shooting. You have 3 days, get a lawyer, cover your ass, whatever, right? Military police don't have that. You have to say what happened. You have to be honest and honorable. So, with that being said, I have a problem with that because they don't understand that not only did we have to deal with being a cop, a combat cop, to be sure. Look, we don't pick that time, but we will stay in the line. And these guys are like, well, yeah, I'll stay in the line. Maybe I'll go in. Maybe I won't, you know, Florida shooting. Trust me, the cops I know would not have done that. I know many cops. They're brothers, and I will never out them or say who they are because they have their lives. So it's just not how we do anybody. And same with on the intelligence community, all this stuff. I don't need to cause anybody problems. But what I will say is that if you say a military policeman who has to know several things, they have to know the UCMJ primarily. They have to know the laws of land warfare primarily. They also have to know any local laws that they have to abide by. They also have to know the USC because that'll hem you up too. And both Army and Marine Corps, you know the funniest thing, they used to tell us back then, and I've been a contractor long enough and I've talked to enough MPs. It's no longer being spoken of, and it needs to be. Every military policeman, Army or Marine, Navy don't have military police either. There's only two branches, Army and Marines, that have military police. I'm being honest and being real. They can talk their shit, but they do not have the monicum of military police. They don't have to deal with enemy prisoners of war or civilian detainees, and they will never have to deal with stragglers or having to deal on the combat line, the FLOT, forward line of battle of tactics. They won't have to deal with those people. So that it's a fallacy, okay? They are what they are. They're LEOs in their little protected area. That's why I have a problem with several of the documentaries that have been produced. Military police means something, you know. We do convoy escorts. We do route reconnaissance. There's a whole lot we have. That's why I say it's multi-purpose. It's like a scout light. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But they all know their jobs, no matter how it rolls. And so when I hear people trying to talk crap about military policemen, and the course of this conversation comes from talking to my brother, who was like, "What's up with that? You know, what's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know. What was he saying?" And he told me, and I was like, "That dude's a moron." You know, a cop wants to talk crap. To me, that says more about the cop than it does anything else. Because it becomes a dick measuring contest. Or maybe for a woman, a vagina measuring contest. I have no idea what you guys think. Don't really care. But I just thought, man, you know how many times I've argued with civilian and federal cops about that, and I said, ask them the next time they say that. Can you end somebody's federal career? And I gave an even basic description of it. That was me lighting a dragon's blood incense. Can you end somebody's career because of what you write, what you tell about that human being? Can you destroy them? Of course they'll say, well, yeah, I could, you know, I could do that. And I'm like, how? Well, they're going to have to pay higher insurance and this, that, and the other. I'm like, no. Just by writing something up. Let's say they're drinking beer out in front of the barracks. Can you destroy their career over that? Well, no. Fletzy security guards can do that at Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Trust me, I've seen it done. I've seen dudes get the walk of shame for doing something just as simple as drinking beer and falling asleep on the stoop, which I used to do all the time. We all would joke around. But they got lippy. All it takes is you fail the shit test. Look, the reality of military police is they are more police. The polis, they serve the people, and they also enforce the law of the land. They also have a different job with the military. So these civilian cops, I don't give a shit who they are, fed, state, local. They need to actually take a breath and realize they're not what they think they are. It really upsets me just because I was a fed. And these were arguments I had when I was a fed. Don't be a moron and act like you know what you don't know. The mystique that you think you know, oh, they wear bizarre. Now they're wearing, I've got one over there on my military police graduation thing. Now they wear the Velcro thing, right? When I worked with the Royal Military Police, they had the same thing, and that was during the Gulf War. And guess what? We worked together fine. I've worked with the Feldjagas. You know, you think you know something, but you know what? One thing that always stands true? Military police, no matter what country they come from, we all have the same shitty job. And it's the job that nobody wants to talk about. The guys that get afraid, or girls, it matters not. If they run from the battle, they're deserting from the forward line of battle. We will be the ones that will have to shoot them. That's a shit job. So what mystique is that? So, regardless of my past experience and the things I've done, there needs to be a breath taken with civil cops. They need to realize all they think they know, they probably don't know. And they probably not. And here's the best part of it is you're living just the same shitty life that infantryman or woman or lioness is living. Trust me, I give props to the females I've met. And every female that I've met can always tell you I was a hell fellow well met and never tried to do anything or do nothing to them. You know, it upsets me because everybody wants to talk shit about MPs. You don't know. We were ambassadors from the Cold War to the Gulf War. And I lived my life, including, and I still do, for the global war on terror. You know, I'm not trying to get that cheap cummies from some woman that might be upset or whatever. I don't get the whole bullshit. But what I'm telling you is I had to say something because combat cops, we are trained to be combat cops. None of us ever want to do violence. And what is presented to us, we will have to respond to. And we will live with those demons. So the next time somebody wants to talk shit, I don't care who it is, I will stand next to that man if he was a military policeman, because I know the mystique of this job. And when you think mystique, you think I'm saying, oh, it's so cool. No, it's a shit fucking job. But it's the best job in the military because it tests your mettle. It is the anvil and the heat that makes the man. With that, I'll leave you with my brother's song, Axon. You guys have a great day. Shove out.
My father taught me many things. He told me, keep your friends close, but your enemies close.